What do you do when the only place you've ever belonged doesn't exist? I didn't have a mother. Not really. I mean, someone gave birth to me. But I don't remember her face, her voice, or even the warmth of being wanted. I grew up inside a concrete box they called an orphanage, but it might as well have been a warehouse for children society didn't want to remember. No windows. No birthdays. No goodnight hugs. Just systems, silence, and survival. My name is Emily. I'm 19 now. They let me out last year. If you've never grown up in a children's home, it's hard to describe the fear that creeps in when you're released into the world. There's no welcome party. No guidance counselor. Just a cold envelope with your name, a little money, and a note telling you to be grateful. I wasn't angry. Just numb. But there was one person I trusted. Miss Helen. She wasn't a mother, but she was something. A teacher, mentor. Maybe the only adult who didn't look at me like I was disposable. She didn't have much either, but she helped me get on my feet. Found me a tiny, barely livable apartment through some contacts. Gave me a list of places to try for work. One of those options? A house cleaning agency. Not exactly glamorous, but I didn't care. I just wanted to do something honest. Something mine. The agency paired me with a long-term client, Mr. Carter. The man lived in a massive house just outside the city, a world away from anything I'd ever known. Marble floors. Chandeliers. Quiet rooms that smelled like fresh linen and wealth. The kind of house with its own gate code and a driveway longer than most streets. He was a widower. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Serious but kind. He lost his wife to cancer 2 years ago, the agency told me. Since then, he'd raised his son alone, or tried to. Tyler, the son, was not like his father. He was 23, technically an adult, but acted like a child who never heard the word no. Lazy, smug, used to being obeyed. I kept my head down. Said, yes sir, and no problem. I wasn't there to make friends or enemies. Just clean. And I cleaned like my life depended on it, because in some ways, it did. Mr. Carter noticed. Within weeks, he trusted me enough to leave keys under the mat and even the safe open in his study. You're the only one in this house who seems to have any sense, he'd muttered once, not even looking up from his newspaper. Tyler noticed too. But not in the same way. At first, it was comments. You look cute when you mop. How old are you really? Bet you've never been in a house like this, huh? I brushed them off. I've dealt with worse. But it escalated. His hands started to linger. His smiles became smirks. He found excuses to be in the same room as me, even when he had no reason. One day, I turned around from cleaning a mirror and found him right behind me, too close. He reached out and touched my arm. I stepped away, said, please don't. He laughed. I never told Mr. Carter. Because who would he believe? Tyler, his only son, the golden boy of a grieving father, or me, a girl from nowhere with no one? I should have quit. Walked away. But I didn't. Not because I was brave, because I was desperate. That job was the only thing keeping me afloat. Then one afternoon, I walked into the study and saw the safe door slightly ajar. Not unusual. Mr. Carter had grown lax about it. I didn't touch anything. But 2 days later, the money was gone. And so was my peace. You'd be surprised how fast trust turns into suspicion, especially when you're the easy one to blame. It started with a phone call. Emily, can you come in early tomorrow? Mr. Carter wants to speak with you before you begin. No details. Just that. I didn't sleep that night. My gut knew. Something was off. The next morning, the house felt colder. The usual warmth was gone. Mr. Carter sat in the study, the safe door wide open behind him. Tyler stood in the corner, arms crossed, face smug. "We're missing some money," Mr. Carter said simply. "A large amount. I don't like to accuse without evidence, but Tyler says he saw you near the safe." That word. Saw. My knees nearly buckled. "Sir, I never." Tyler cut me off. "I told you, Dad. I saw her. She was holding a stack of bills. She looked nervous." He said it so casually. So confidently. As if it were true. I turned to Mr. Carter, panic rising in my throat. "I swear, I've never touched anything. You know how hard I work. Please, I didn't." "Then where did the money go?" Mr. Carter asked. "You're the only person with access. My son wouldn't steal from me." I wanted to scream. But what would it matter? All my tears, all my words, they meant nothing against the word of his son. He gave me two choices: either you return the money, or work off the debt. Or I'll have to call the police. I felt like the walls were closing in. I didn't steal. I didn't even think of stealing. But it didn't matter. My past worked against me. No family. No history. No one to vouch for my character. They say justice is blind. But in that moment, it saw everything except the truth. I didn't quit. I couldn't. Not until I figured out what really happened. And deep down, I knew. This wasn't about money. This was revenge. Because I said no. Because I pushed him away. Tyler hadn't just taken the money, he had taken my dignity and twisted it into a weapon. I kept coming to work. Silent. Careful. Observing. I wasn't going to let him win. Then, one Thursday afternoon, while cleaning Tyler's room, I noticed something strange: torn up paper stuffed into the bottom of the trash can. Not just any trash, freshly torn, as if someone was in a hurry to get rid of something. My hands shook as I pulled out the pieces. A receipt? A letter? No. Something worse. It took me nearly 30 minutes, crouched on the cold bathroom tile, to piece the fragments together. When I was done, my breath left my lungs like someone had punched me. It was an IOU. Tyler's name. A date. A signature. And a borrowed amount that matched exactly what had been stolen. I sat there staring at it, part rage, part relief, part heartbreak. I had the truth in my hands. But what would I do with it? There's a moment when fear turns into something sharper. Not courage, exactly, but resolve. I didn't sleep again that night. My brain kept replaying the image of that IOU, Tyler's name scribbled in messy ink, the exact amount his father had accused me of stealing, and the date just days before the money vanished. It was the proof I needed. But the question burned: what now? I could have taken it straight to Mr. Carter. Handed him the torn paper and let the truth unravel. But part of me wanted to see Tyler break. To look him in the eyes and give him a chance to own what he did. So I waited. The next afternoon, I walked into the house with that crumpled IOU tucked safely in my cleaning bag. My hands were shaking. My heart was doing something between panic and fury. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, only that I had to say something. He was in his room, lounging on the bed with his feet up, scrolling through his phone like nothing in the world could touch him. I stood in the doorway, quiet. He looked up, smirked. "You lost, sweetheart?" I walked in, slow. I didn't answer him. Just stared. He frowned. "What?" "I found something," I said, voice low. "In your trash." His smirk faltered. "I put it back together," I added. "It took a while, but turns out IOUs don't shred as well as you think." He stood up, tense now. "You're full of shit." I pulled the paper from my bag, unfolded it. Tyler lunged at me. I jerked back just in time, shoving the paper into my back pocket. "Try it," I snapped. "Try and touch me again, and you'll regret it." That stopped him. "You think you can blackmail me with that?" he said. "Nobody's going to believe you." "I don't need them to believe me. I need your father to see it." "You wouldn't dare." I stepped closer, staring straight into his eyes. "You set me up because I said no to you. You tried to destroy me over a bruised ego." He laughed, ugly, cruel. "No one cares what a maid says. Especially a little orphan girl with no last name that matters." And then the door creaked open. Both our heads snapped toward it. "Mr. Carter." He had walked in mid-sentence. His eyes flicked from me to his son, and then to the way Tyler was standing, fists clenched, body tense, like he was ready to pounce. "What's going on?" he asked. Tyler stepped back, panic flickering across his face. "Sir," I said, breathing hard. "I think it's time you saw something." I pulled the paper from my pocket and handed it to him. He read it once. Then again. Slowly. His jaw tightened with every word. Tyler opened his mouth, but no sound came. Mr. Carter didn't say anything to him. He just looked at me and said quietly, "You can go home now, Emily." I didn't need to be told twice. I walked past Tyler without another glance. But I could feel his eyes on me, shock, rage, disbelief. I stepped out into the late afternoon sun. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt light. They say you can't hide the truth forever. But no one ever talks about what it sounds like when it finally breaks loose. For me, it sounded like silence. That eerie, tense silence that hung over the Carter house after I handed Mr. Carter the IOU. I wasn't there to witness what happened next, but I didn't need to be. The silence itself told me enough. I didn't go back the next day. But on the morning after that, I received a call. It was Mr. Carter. "I owe you an apology," he said. "No small talk. Just that." His voice cracked a little. "You were right. About everything." He paused, then added, "I'm ashamed I doubted you." A silence stretched between us. Then he continued. "He admitted it. Tyler. He confessed. Said he lost the money in a poker game. Took it from the safe and blamed you to cover his tracks." I swallowed hard. My throat felt tight. "What happens now?" "I'm sending him away," Mr. Carter said. "Military service. Not a private school. Not some fancy overseas program. Real discipline. He's lost every privilege. And I've made sure he understands that this is permanent." A part of me wanted to feel satisfied. Maybe even victorious. But I didn't. I just felt tired. Mr. Carter didn't stop there. "If you'll forgive me, I'd like you to come back. Not as a cleaner. As housekeeper. Full-time, with benefits. I want to do right by you." I didn't answer right away. I needed time to think. I didn't trust easily anymore. But something about his tone told me this wasn't just a peace offering, it was regret. Genuine. When I eventually said yes, it wasn't out of pity. It wasn't about the job, the money, or even the title. It was because I was tired of running. And for once, someone was actually trying to make things right. The first time I saw Tyler again was 3 weeks later. He was being picked up from the driveway, buzz-cut head bowed, military bag slung over his shoulder. He didn't look at me as he passed. Good. He wasn't the one who mattered anymore. That night, Mr. Carter invited me to dinner. Just the two of us. "You remind me of my wife," he said quietly over grilled salmon and steamed greens. "She was gentle. But she never let anyone step on her." I didn't know what to say. "You've had no one," he added. "But somehow, you turned out better than most people I know." I blinked hard. That lump in my throat again. He poured me a glass of wine. "You're not just the help anymore, Emily. You're family." If you ever need anything, you come to me. No more being invisible. That night, I lay in my tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that word. Family. For the first time in my life, it didn't feel like a curse. It felt like something I could grow into. I didn't believe in new beginnings. Not because I was cynical, because I was used to being disposable. In the system, you're taught that new beginnings are just the start of a new disappointment. But this one felt different. Becoming the housekeeper at the Carter estate wasn't just a job change. It was a shift in identity. I had my own room in the guest wing now, a contract, benefits. My name was even on the household accounts. Mr. Carter made it clear, I wasn't an outsider anymore. I was part of something. It felt safe. For the first time in my life, I had space to breathe. Then came him. It started with a delivery. Groceries. I'd placed the order late, and they sent a substitute driver. A young man with dark curls, a crooked smile, and a quiet kind of confidence. "Are you the new manager here?" he asked, as I signed for the delivery. "No," I said automatically. "Just the housekeeper." He tilted his head, curious. "You say that like it's a bad thing." That caught me off guard. "Anyway," he continued, holding out his hand, "I'm Andrew." From that moment, he kept showing up. Not in a pushy way, just present. Sometimes he delivered groceries. Other times he showed up at the farmer's market I liked on Saturdays. Once, I caught him fixing the estate's front gate when it jammed. "You stalking me?" I joked, suspicious. "No," he said. "But I might be interested in the girl who never smiles." I wanted to roll my eyes. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled, just barely. Mr. Carter noticed him too. One evening after dinner, he asked, "That boy you've been seeing, what do you know about him?" I blinked. "We're just talking." "Uh-huh," he said, not buying it. I had him checked out. My fork froze midair. "You what?" "Don't look at me like that. I'm not interfering. Just protective. You matter now, Emily. And I'm not letting anyone use you." His tone was calm. Kind. Fatherly. He handed me a sealed envelope. "If you want to read it, do. If not, throw it away." That night, I stared at the envelope for hours. Eventually, I opened it. No red flags. No hidden past. No debts or criminal records. Just one line at the bottom, handwritten by Mr. Carter. "He's a good one. Don't let your past stop you from trusting your future." Andrew and I grew slowly. No whirlwind romance. No sudden declarations. Just conversations. Shared meals. Walks around the estate when the sun dipped behind the trees. And then, one evening, he touched my hand, gently, and asked, "Is it okay if I like you?" No assumptions. Just permission. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a beginning. It was a chance to stop surviving, and start living. Sometimes, I wake up before the sun rises, when the world is still quiet, and I just sit by the window with a cup of tea and stare out at the garden. It's funny. I used to believe peace was something other people got to have. People with parents. Last names. Family dinners. Holiday traditions. I used to think I'd always be that girl from the orphanage, the one no one fought for, the one it was easy to accuse. But now, I have keys to a house that feels like mine. A job that respects me. A man who sees me. And something else. A place in the world that doesn't feel borrowed. It's been over a year since Tyler left. We haven't heard from him. Mr. Carter doesn't talk about him much, and I don't ask. Whatever healing needed to happen between them is beyond my control. But I know this, he's changed too. He used to be a man buried in grief, drowning in quiet guilt. Now he jokes more. He eats dinner at the table instead of alone in his study. He asks about my day, about Andrew. He treats me like something rare, not because I'm special, but because I'm seen. Sometimes he slips and calls me kiddo. I don't correct him. Andrew and I aren't rushing anything. But he's the first person I've ever trusted to see the parts of me I used to hide. The scars. The stories. The nights I went to sleep wondering if anyone would ever love me, not for how hard I worked or how quiet I was, but for simply existing. He makes me laugh. He makes me feel safe. He never treats my silence like a flaw. Last week, I got a letter from Miss Helen. She'd heard through someone at the agency about what happened. She wrote, "You always had that quiet strength, Emily. I just wish the world had seen it sooner." I folded it and kept it in my nightstand. Some words deserve to be reread. The house is different now. Warmer. Brighter. The staff respects me. The neighbors smile when they see me walk the garden path. Mr. Carter's guests ask if I'm his daughter, and he doesn't correct them. I don't correct them either. Because maybe, in a way, I am. Not by blood, but by choice. Sometimes, when I pass the hallway mirror, I stop and look. I don't see a maid anymore. I see a woman who stood her ground. Who said no, even when it cost her everything. Who was blamed, shamed, and left for ruin, but didn't break. I see someone who didn't just survive. She built a life no one thought she could have. She found not just work. Not just love. She found a home. And, for the first time in her life, she found herself.